Hello and welcome to the last episode of In Case of Emergency. We'll be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after Kieran realized that the world that he found himself in was fake, and that he's still in the void. Not only that, but basically he doesn't get to be with Wes just because he wants it, and he doesn't get to have these friends just because he wants them. And he can't just forget about his assignment, because he lost it in the void. Well, now he actually found it in the void, but yeah. So, I guess there's not much to say right now. And, about the giveaway. I will get in contact with the person who won, and I'm gonna pick it immediately after this video goes out. So, you have until I wake up and then open the YouTube app. So yeah. But anyways, back to the finale of In Case of Emergency. It's been a long road. Well, actually not that long. Compared to other visual novels, this has been relatively short, but it's definitely just as bittersweet to see it end. Because I actually really, really liked it. But I'll get into that later in the end. But anyways, so yeah, without further ado, let us finish In Case of Emergency. In the darkness, you walk for what seems like an eternity. Your ankle burns as you hobble through the emptiness, your hand still clenched around the like it's a lifeline. For all you know, it is. What is this place? You look around for any identifying landmarks, but there's nothing other than the void as far as your eye can see. Ow! Your foot recoils in pain from the sharp object you stepped on. Bending down to pick it up, you find a thin wooden rail, about 3 inches long and 2 wide. Hello? Is anyone out there? Only the silence responds. You're alone. No, I'm not. You're there, aren't you? Clearly you know who I am, and what I want. What happened back there? That was all you, wasn't it? So, tell me what to do. Keep walking. You keep walking. The void stretches out in front of you, no horizon to speak of. Finally, after a long moment, you hear the sound of rushing water in the distance. At this point, you're grateful to hear anything other than the sound of your own voice. You race towards the sound as best as you can with your one good leg. In the distance, you spot an enormous cascading waterfall, thunderous in the empty void. What is this place? This is the void. Great, thanks. I got that part. But why am I here? How do I get back? All the things that are lost in Peregrine must pass through here. This is where they are recycled and repurposed into something new. You cannot return to Peregrine because this is Peregrine. Don't you see? As you approach the waterfall, you realize that it flows never quite reaches the ground. Before it does, it dissipates into the air and seems to float into the void, its particles warped before your very eyes. You recognize it as what was happening to you when your hand became transparent. You were being unraveled, mind harvested so that you could give birth to a new world. Okay, I get it. I'm just thread or raw materials or whatever. Is that what happened to everyone else who came through here? Remus mentioned that there were others before me. They got chopped up and processed down here, turned into more world. They were given everything they wanted, just like you. Had you stayed, you would have eventually become like them. Mountains and rivers, landmarks and lives. Except I left. Except you left. You could have stayed and been happy. Wasn't it what you always wanted? Why wasn't it enough? Why did you leave? It wasn't real. Well, It wasn't real. I couldn't have stayed. Did that ever matter? You experience what you can only describe as the universe shrugging. You can do whatever you like. All things must come to an end. But you have to know, your return will not be easy. Where's Wes? When you fell, your friend jumped in after you. He is currently in his own pocket of void, much like the world you were once in. If you wish to leave, you will have to find him and bring him with you. Your anchor tethers you to the layers above Peregrine, the world you come from. You feel the buzz in your hand. It will always bring you closer to the world from which it originated, but before you can return home, you will have to pass through Peregrine once more. But how? How do I get back home from there? Just as an item anchors you to the world above, so too does an object forged from the void anchor you to the world below. Your hand instinctively reaches for the scarabard looped around your hip. At some point during your journey down here, it had rematerialized at your side. You mean the sword? I have to get rid of it? If you are to break the cycle and leave, all artifacts must be returned to the void, the place whence they came. You drum your fingers along the cold pommel of your blade. Despite everything, you don't want to let it go. You feel robbed of your time here, and a part of you still wants more, wants to hold on to the sand slipping past your fingers. But standing here in the emptiness of the void, it feels nearly impossible to articulate this. This is what you want. What kind of price are you willing to pay to linger a little longer in this world? There's only one way out, and that way is through. You take a deep breath, gather what little remains of your mental reserves. Nothing but darkness lies before you. You're scared, but the promise that there's some kind of existence at the end of this, even if it's not the existence you want, gives you strength. You exhale, grip the dick stuffed in your pocket tighter, and keep going. At long last, you encounter the steel doors to an elevator. Floating next to them are a sleek panel with a single circular button embedded in it. You press it and the button lights up. The elevator door is open, ushering you in. The box hums to life as it travels, upwards, you assume, as the floor numbers tick higher and higher. Something cold trickles against your hand, and you realize you're holding the foil-covered stem of a champagne bottle. Somehow it's still cold. Barely any condensation has formed on the dark green glass. Eventually, the elevator slides to a smooth stop, like hitting the brakes on a powerful car, and the doors open onto an open office floor. Some people look up from where they're working, briefly making bored eye contact with you, then quickly turn back to their work. You're pretty sure you don't work here. He's over there. Someone takes pity on your lost kid in a mall look and nods towards the corner office with its shutters closed. No one spares you or your bottle a second glance as you walk towards it. You can't tell if it's because you belong here, or if it's because you don't. As you approach the office door, you notice that there's no name in the empty placard on the door. You push the door open. Hey, what are you doing here? Wes smiles at you, turning away from the windows along the wall. Outside, you see the skyline of a city you've never seen before, let alone from this high of a floor. Despite everything, your heart still skips a beat when you see him. Is that for me? Wes crosses over to you and takes a champagne from your hand, his tail snaking around the back of your knee before he returns to his desk. Your knees wobble a little at the touch. You're not some lovesick puppy, at least not anymore, but it's hard not to want more. You clear your throat and attempt to clear your head. If you're going to convince Wes to leave, you need to figure out what's happening. So, what's going on? Is this your office? You didn't know? I thought that's what the champagne was for, to celebrate my new promotion. From somewhere you can't see, Wes produces 2 glass flutes and sets them on his desk. With a practiced flourish, he peels off the foil covering and removes the wire cage. Whoa! Wes recoils, laughing as the foam spills over the lip of the bottle and onto his knuckles. He shakes his hands clean, as he pours you 2 glasses. Cheers. Your heart sinks for a reason you can't name yet. This isn't actually happening. Wes, this isn't real. I know, right? I can't believe it either. Wes clinks glasses with you and sips. Don't drink. You hold the stem of the glass between your fingers without drinking. It doesn't feel right to partake right now. Wes wipes his hand on a handkerchief, and you catch the glint of a familiar ring on his finger. The churning feeling in your stomach hardens into a pit as all your worst fears are confirmed. You can't believe that, even in his wildest fantasies, Wes can't imagine a world without his obligations. Hey, can we talk for a second? Wes smiles at you, blithely, sipping from his flute. What's up? You gesture around the office, trying to prepare your point. Wes, this isn't real. You jumped into the void after me and Peregrine, and we ended up in these fantasy worlds that are trying to harvest us. This office, this view, it's just the world reflecting back at you what you want to see. You have to come with me, and we have to go back to the real world. Wes frowns, pausing in the middle of his sips. Then, suddenly, he laughs. Against your will, the butterflies in your stomach are sent aflutter. If there's ever been proof that the heart wants what it wants, it's this moment here. Ha! You're always so funny, Kieran. I wish I could take you to this party with me. You don't think like you could write a speech for me, do you? Funny? You really think I'm funny? I mean, what? We're celebrating my promotion to operations director. My dad's going to be there, and I should probably thank him or whatever. Sorry, I'm not good at writing speeches for people who are still living. You don't want to indulge him, but the response comes to you automatically. As your brain catches up to what Wes said, you realize. Hang on, why am I not invited to this party? Wes laughs as he quirks an eyebrow. Is this another joke? He sounds a little concerned, like he's afraid you're asking a trick question. We talked about this. I can't be seen with you at the company functions, but that doesn't mean that I care about you any less. What does that mean? Wes flushes. You know, I care about you. I want us to be together. What else does it mean? You're saying that we can be together in private? We just can't let anyone know we're together? You feel like an idiot arguing about this imaginary predicament, dragging into someone else's fantasy and acting out a fight in a relationship that's not even your own. Wes sighs, downing his glass and reaching over to take yours. As you lean in, you get a whiff of his cologne and underneath it, his own scent. It's still him beneath it all. You're not sure if that makes everything better or worse. Is everything okay, Kieran? Is this really what you want? What do you mean? I'm happy here. This is what I want. Well, this isn't what I want. I don't want this. I mean, I can't control what you want. If you want to get married and work at your dad's company while still sleeping with guys on the side, I can't tell you what to think. But I don't want to be a part of this. Wes frowns, and he has the decency to look ashamed as he studies the carpet without answering. Look, I get it. Your parents want you to get married to someone. Maybe they're homophobic, maybe they're not, and... No, they actually voted liberal 8 years ago. That doesn't mean... That's not my point. You sigh with exasperation. How can one person be so selfish while also caring so much about what other people want from him? Wes recoils, clearly having taken offense at your words. Why are you so mad about this all of a sudden? You were the one who wanted to keep things casual. You throw your hands up in the air and make a noise of frustration. Wes, don't you get it? This isn't real. The person that told you that wasn't actually me. It was just a version of me that this world made for you. You're just being shown whatever it is that you want to see. Wes opens his mouth to respond, then freezes as the weight of your words finally sets in. He looks embarrassed, Like you've walked in on him watching something inappropriate, except you've actually seen his porn on his TV, and he was much less mortified then. It occurs to you faintly that this is unfair, that you get to see what he wants in all its selfishness, but that he still hasn't seen your own fantasy of who you wanted him to be. Your face burns at the memory of the things you apparently wished he'd say to you. There's nothing quite as humiliating as wanting something that the other person doesn't. From Wes's desk, the blank office phone rings. No one moves to answer it. After an excruciating long time, it comes to the answering machine and a man's voice comes from the speaker. Wesley, just wanted to congratulate you on the promotion. You still got a long road ahead of you, but I know you're going to make a great leader one day. I don't say it enough, but if it's today, well, shucks, you did good. I'm proud of you, son. And then the line goes dead. Wes crosses his arms and stares at his fancy carpeted floor, looking entirely ashamed. You don't know what to say. In another world, you would probably have been getting a similar phone call. After a long moment, Wes raises his head to take a hard look at the office, the expensive-looking mahogany table, the elaborate paperweights, the million-dollar view, before settling on the blinking landline. Then he shrugs and looks away. Yeah, maybe you're right. You sure hope you are. Right now, the only thing you're certain of is that nothing makes this conversation sting any less. You hold out the for him to take. Balls first. Is that? It's a long story. If you take it, we can portal through the void and go back to where we came from. We'll have to go through the heart again first, through Peregrine, but after that we can actually go home for real. And if I stay? Would things go back to the way they were? You walk over to the abandoned glasses of champagne and hold one out for him to take. Wes tries to grab it and scrunches his brow, then tries again. His hand passes through its stem and through your fingers, reaching for something he can't have. I don't know, but if you stay, the world's just going to keep feeding off of you until there's nothing left. You set the glass down and offer the again in its place. Wes's hands reach out, hovering over it, hesitant. You can already see the color returning to his hand. The more he questions what he sees, the harder it is for it to retain its hold on him. But he doesn't take it quite yet. There's just one thing I don't get. If this is really supposed to be everything I ever wanted, and if the void is reading my mind to give it to me, then why, even here, why aren't I happy? He turns to you, as though you might hold all the answers. When you make eye contact, you realize, for maybe the first time, that Wes is no older than you are. In fact, you know that he's a year below you in school, and more than likely younger than you. For all his expensive furniture, parties, and responsibilities, Wes is playing pretend at being an adult just as much as you are. He's scared. Your shoulders sag if there's a solution to his problems, to wanting the right things, to reacting appropriately when you finally get them. You still haven't figured that out. I can't. Wes's hands tremble over the desk, clearly recognizing what it would mean to reject fantasy and be forced back into the unbearable, ordinary suffering of regular life. But there's no escape from the world you left, not when you're always bringing with you the one thing you can never leave behind. I don't think I can do this. You can. I know you can, because I was able to do it, and I only did it because I absolutely had to. And now, you have to, too. I'm with you. But I'm with you all the way, okay? We're in this together. Wes nods, swallowing. He catches your eye, a flash of an apology in his blue orbs, before refocusing on the deck. When he closes his fist around it, you can feel the world flatten, condensing into fewer dimensions. The window overlooking the skyline now looks like a flat wall, the building painted on its surface, just an arm's reach from where you stand. Before he reaches for it, Wes looks back at you. You nod to try and encourage him. You watch him visibly steel himself, squaring his shoulders as he touches the wall. It doesn't take much for the wall to fall over like a cheap cardboard prop. Beyond it lies nothing but the void, as far as the eye can see. Somewhere out in the distance, you hear the sounds of waves crashing on the shore. Together, you step forward into the darkness, letting it swallow you whole. You walk for what feels like an eternity. At a certain point, the darkness begins to incline upwards until it becomes a vertical slab. You don't recognize this until you're already climbing, one hand being thrown over the other. Your arms burn, muscles exhausted after a long day. There's no way to know how far away the surface is until you breach it, your hand disappearing where it catches on the surface of a ledge. Pulling yourself up with both hands, you reappear in the room with the heart, your dick in their back pocket and the sword swinging from your side. In one corner, Remus is surrounded, kept in place by your friends that remained. He looks injured, propped up with one arm on the floor and breathing hard. Kieran! We saw you disappear! You wheeze for air as you scramble onto the ledge, ignoring pain in your ankle. We've taken care of Remus, but... From behind, Wes helps you to your feet. Guys, we have to get rid of the artifacts. What? Are you crazy? Trust me. Trust me. You untie the leather strap attaching the scarber to your waist and, hand clasped around the sheath, hold it out over the void. This is the only way. You grimace as you're thinking about what you're throwing away. This was supposed to be your way out, the key to a better life. But at some point along the way, it turned into, or perhaps it was all along, a shackle. Opening your paw, you let the sword fall, its blade spinning into the pitch dark of the void. Something in your gut settles, tightening like a thread connected to your navel has grown taut. Your friends look at you with concern. You must look like you've lost your mind. Wes is the first to step forward. He swings his shield out of his grip so that he holds it by the top of its beveled edge. Kieran, I'm taking your word for this. He tosses the shield into the pit like a frisbee, letting it sail into the darkness before disappearing. He squeezes your arm. Luke makes a show of sighing and grumbling. Are you serious? Come on, man! I never get to keep anything nice! He grips the amulet around his neck tighter and steps forward, towards the edge of the void. He tries to tear it off. The clasp fails, tries again, then reluctantly slides it over his neck and tosses it into the pit, like it's meant to do that all along. It slides into the darkness and vanishes. Cedric's eyes dart between each of you, nothing to sacrifice of his own. What now? Well, I think the world was supposed to end now, but maybe I need to trigger it, or... You pull the from your back pocket and hold it out like the Holy Cross. You try to imagine home and the things you associate with it. Loneliness, debt, unemployment, a possible future of continued unemployment, but the tug against your navel doesn't change. Nothing changes. The portal doesn't open. Huh. Remus chuckles as he pushes himself onto one knee. Did you think it would be that easy? The crown around his temple glows faintly in the darkness, casting a blue light on his cheekbones. Peregrine cannot end. Don't you see? I will not allow it. Getting to his feet, Remus stretches out his arms. In a flash of light from his circlet, a sword and shield appear in either hand, a green amulet dangling around his chest. It's similar to the relics you once held, but each a little different this time. Wrapped around the hilt of the sword, you notice it's an inlay of pink tourmaline dust that wasn't there before. On the shield's surface, you think you spy a new pattern of stripes, and the armlet this time is a smooth, opaque gem hanging from a silver ball chain. Remus spins the sword in his hand with an experienced flourish. The circlet around his head glows again, and you realize what's been in front of you this whole time. There was a Fourth Relic all along. It's the crown on his head. We have to get it off. Cedric is the first to react. Without hesitation, he races for Remus, unarmed. With the side of his shield, Remus swats him away and throws his body against a boulder. Cedric lands with a nasty-sounding crack, tumbling to the ground. Wes recovers soon afterwards. He lunges across the cave with his arms outstretched, intending to wrestle Remus to the ground. But Remus reacts quickly. He ducks to the ground to meet the assault with his shield, and flicking upwards, flips Wes's body and up and over him. Wes lands and skids to a halt on all fours. He tries to block the incoming blow, but it was unarmed. Remus catches him with the broadsword of his shield, knocking him across the face once, twice, throwing him across the cavern with his final attack. From across the cavern, a rock sails through the air and hits Remus's shield with a loud thunk. Remus's head whips towards the source and he ducks just in time to avoid the next projectile that sails off into the void. Hey, pick on someone slightly smaller than your size. Luke checks the weight of another stone in his hand, winds it up like a baseball pitcher, and then lets it fly. Remus extends his sword, hand out, amulet glowing, and the rock freezes mid-flight, hovering at a distance from him. Oh, come on! Luke throws another rock, but that too is stopped by the barrier of force Remus is maintaining. With a flick of his wrist, Remus sends the rocks sailing back the way they came. Oh fuck! The first rock hits Luke in the sternum, and the second on the cheek, the force slamming him back against the cavern walls. Finally, Remus turns his attention to you. You reach for your sword, but realize too late that you no longer have it. All you have to defend yourself is the Kieran, I had so much hope for you. Remus raises his sword for a downward slash, and you barely have time to deflect it with the dildo grasped like a weapon in your hand. You can't actually parry with it, not really, but you redirect the blow just enough so that the blade slashes across your knuckles and not on your chest. You can do better than that. Come on, is that all you got? Remus grimaces and comes in for another swing. This one you catch with the balls of the dildo facing upwards, stopping the blade on your hilt. Remus's sword catches in the base of the sack and shaft, a centimeter from the delicate skin between your thumb and forefinger. With a grunt of frustration, Remus wrenches his sword free, nearly tearing the dick from your hand. He clashes with you again and again. You narrowly avoid his strikes with a combination of lucky parries and footwork, but you know your luck won't hold out. You've had training, but Remus has been doing this for longer than any of you. Every time you catch an attack with the dick, you can feel just how much stronger he is than you. Remus roars as you stop his blade again with your weapon. This time he doesn't pull away, instead pushing forward so that your arms are pinned against your body. With every step, his blade inches deeper into the silicon and closer to your neck. The blade is starting to cut through the dick, and you feel the icy touch of steel against your paw, blood blooming where it digs into your hands. Then something hits Remus on the head with a heavy thunk, and the wolf swings around with his shield arm just in time to meet a charging Wes. Wes tackles him at the waist, and the two of them tumble to the cave floor, sending Remus's weapons scattering. Hold him still! Luke hobbles over, bleeding from a fresh cut on his forehead. He looks uncharacteristically weak without his magic, but he throws his body into the fight anyway, trying to pin down an arm or leg. Kieran, help! You limp towards the dog pile, your body burning with adrenaline and the tattered still in your grasp. Remus roars, "No!" Booming from Remus's prone body, you watch a light begin to grow brighter and brighter, expanding like a mushroom cloud in the wake of an atomic bomb. The force of the explosion sends all of you flying through the air. You land on your back with the wind knocked out of you. You hear things crack in you that you didn't think could crack. Something wet drips down your forehead and across the bridge of your muzzle. Remus pants and snarls, stumbling to his feet. You will never take Peregrine from me! This place will outlive us all! Remus struggles to his feet and picks up his fallen sword from the ground. Gripping his bloodied side, he limps over to you, steel blade dragging along rock. Get up. You try to right yourself by putting weight on your arm, but a blast of pain fires off in your ribcage like your organs are trying to skewer themselves on your own splintered ribs. You're barely able to pilot your aching body into a standing position as Remus approaches, his sword glittering in the dark. I won't let you destroy this world! Well, actually, trying to attack me from this angle is pretty terrible for the leverage you'll need to pierce armor and my sternum. Remus's blade sweeps across your chest, nicking your armor like it's taking the corner off a stick of butter. You realize it's actually not that bad of a technique. This is problematic. Seriously, I feel like this is really detrimental to a healthy boss-employee relationship in the workplace. Remus only snarls in response. His attack goes over your head in an arc, and you swear you feel his blade trim the fur off the top of your ear. You have better luck getting through to a Hollywood executive. Nothing seems to be getting through to Remus. At best, you're buying yourself time. At worst, you're dragging out the inevitable death. This isn't radical queer politics. Come on, can we work something out? I got diamond hands. I can get you in on the ground floor of the latest crypto. Remus arcs his sword upwards, narrowly missing your nose as you duck just in time. You realize the greatest non-fungible token is your life. It's clear that this isn't working. It's obvious you're out of your element, desperately trying to cling to life rafts already being tossed over the edge. Remus, gathering his senses, simply points his sword at your chest and backs you against a wall. You're both huffing with effort, though you have the disadvantage of struggling to breathe against the tip of a sword. Every shallow, rattling breath you take, you can feel your chest press against the steel. For the first time in your life, you have nothing to say. There's no clever quip to get you out of the situation, no obscure reference that will deliver you from the pickle you find yourself in. Despite everything, it's just you, and no matter where you go, what you do or say, there's no escaping from him. You close your eyes and wait for the end. Stop! The blow never comes. Managing to wrench open an eyelid, you watch Cedric getting to his feet in the middle of the cavern. Blood trickles down his nose and over his lips. There's something clutched in his hand. When he holds it aloft, a flash of recognition fits across Remus's expression. It's in Cedric's hand is a crown. Remus quickly forgets you as he rounds on your friend. Through gritted teeth, he commands, Cedric, give that to me. Cedric hesitates as he fingers the crown uncertainly. The gem in its center twinkles with energy. I feel it. Cedric holds it up like he means to place it on his own head. Remus snarls. Don't you dare! You don't belong here! You think this means anything? Foolish boy, you were never meant for this world, and now you've overstayed your welcome! Cedric places the crown on his head. It fits perfectly. When Cedric opens his eyes, they're glowing faintly. I can see. He looks past you, at a point only he can see. Remus growls and charges at him with the sword raised. Cedric raises his hand. And Wes, bloodied and bruised, meets Remus with a shield, its glowing outline shimmering against his wrist. They parry back and forth. Remus brings his sword down, and Wes meets it with his new weapon, sidestepping to dodge the follow-up strike. From behind, a bolt of fire strikes Remus's back and leaves a smoldering hole in his cape. Remus swivels to block the following bolt, one smoking white with frost and another crackling blue with lightning, and opens himself up to an uppercut from Wes's shield. In your own hand, the silicon implement in your grip feels heavier. Looking down, you see a glittering, translucent blade extend from the base of the dildo. Remus is fending off attacks on both sides from Wes and Luke. A flash of energy solders his shoulder, and a blow from Wes knocks him backwards. Before you can think, you're there to capitalize on it, your blade arcing across Remus's back. Remus howls, stumbling, and you dart forward to dig the tip of your sword ever so slightly between Remus's shoulder blades. Remus stills. The others surround him and disarm him. Remus seems to quickly realize that he is out of options. He slowly lets his sword clatter to the floor, and he raises his hands in surrender, dropping to his knees. His broad shoulders rise and fall with his labored breathing. When he speaks, his voice is soft. "Kieran, you will regret this." You circle him to hold your sword to his throat. As he looks up at you, from blood-matted fur, you realize that he's not threatening you. He's warning you. Even after everything, he still thinks he's looking out for you. "Don't you see, Kieran? I'm not the villain here. There is nothing out there for us. This is all there is. This world, this Peregrine, this reality. This is your only chance to matter, for it's all to mean something. This is what I was trying to give you. All of you." Remus sighs, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. "If only you could have seen that." He hangs his head and turns away from you. With the toe of your boot, you kick away Remus's weapon, feeling heat swallow under the point of your blade. When you slowly lower your sword, it's clear he's given up. There's nowhere left for him to run. You've beaten him. You hardly notice Cedric walking over, his right paw outstretched in front of him, and his pants facing up like he's cupping a bowl in his hand. It's time to go. He clenches his fingers to make a fist, and you feel the thread in your navel pull tight. Cedric pulls, and the pressure snaps, the thread snipping, and carried away by the wind. The blade on your dildo winks out and scatters into the stardust. "Hey!" The ground begins to shake. You watch loose pebbles dance up and down on the floor. There's a rumble from deep in the cavern, and the shadows in the cavern seem to grow longer. The heart pulses with weak blue light, dimming as the world falls apart. Wordlessly, Cedric turns towards the pit in the center of the room and holds his palm out towards it. Like you felt before, you feel the familiar sensation of the world's planes rearranging. Just in front of you, a door appears, the hollow steel rectangle you've seen so many times before. It's the other side of the emergency exit, your ticket back to the real world. "Cedric, how are you doing this?" When Cedric speaks, his tone is far away. "It doesn't have to be Peregrine. There are thousands of worlds waiting for you, 1,000,000 stars unexplored, 100 doors unopened." Cedric blinks, his eyes return to normal for a moment, and he clutches his head. I think it's the crown. I can control the world. No, well, I can destroy it. But I can make it too. I could remake it into anything I wanted." His eyes start to glow again, and for a moment you think he's going to follow up on that revelation. But then Cedric shakes his head, and the light dissipates. "No, we have to leave. I just severed the last of your connections to the relics. We just need to get rid of the crown and..." He nods towards the portal. "And then this world will be destroyed. Gone for good. There won't be anything to take its place." "Let's go." "Then what are we waiting for? Let's get the hell out of here." Luke sighs and, with a hand on his hip, gives the cavern a final once-over. He sniffles as he wipes the blood from his nose with one hand. "Well, this sucks." After a long look at the ground, he finally looks up and skips over to the middle door, slipping through without a look back. And just like that, he's gone. Wes collects himself, and the last particles of his shield dissolve into sparkling dust. He exhales loudly and rolls his shoulders back in wide circles, like he's preparing himself mentally and physically for the next bout. Hey, earlier when you jumped in after me, you were trying to save me. Thanks. That's what I was trying to, anyway. Then it turns out you had to come and rescue me. Wes ducks his head briefly, bashfully. Still, I'd do it again if I knew you were in danger. Whatever happens, thanks. And I'm sorry. I'm grateful for the time we had together. And I'm sorry. Hey, it's not over yet. Wes smiles and pulls the door open and steps through it, part way, waiting for you on the other side. Coming with? He holds the door for you, and you step through, together, feet reaching the other side at the same time. For a few moments, like a glitch in the system, you're not instantly transported back to your body. Your eyes blink as you struggle to readjust to the fluorescent lighting of the basement. You hear the door slam behind you as Cedric emerges, the crown on his head discarded. The door nearly hits his backside as he leaps through the opening. The four of you stand in the basement of Redoubt Hall, bloody, battered, and bruised. In the background, you hear the low hum of the eco-friendly air conditioning, and you can smell the mold that must be growing on the ceiling. Behind you, the emergency exit door has closed. You try to squint to see through the small, crisscross pane in the door, but all you see is the pale concrete of a filled-in exit. You feel something hard and rubbery under your foot. It's the dick, utterly harmless, no longer sword-like, and decisively wrecked. It made it out after all, which means Peregrine is gone. It's over. There's a moment in which all of you share bewildered looks, just grateful to be living, unable to fully comprehend exactly just what you've all been through. It's an impossible reprieve granted by the universe, a single pinpoint in time in which two versions of you exist at once, the world trying to recalibrate to its new circumstances. In this insignificant sliver of being you occupy, the world does, in fact, revolve around you, the tiniest of miracles for the most significant event in the history of you. And then, like it never happened, the moment vanishes, and you're back in your room. You're home. So I make a left onto the highway or a right? Just keep going straight. The road will merge on its own. Kira's voice comes through the car speakers, grainy and distorted. Are you sure? Because it looks like... Oh, wait, no, you're right. I was looking at the map upside down. Kieran, a straight line is a straight line no matter how you turn it. Hey, you're talking to a college degree holder now, okay? Uh-huh. Could've fooled me. I got a bona fide bachelor's degree in computer science now. I could apply for an entry-level internship if I wanted to. Well, why don't you put that college education to use and pick up some flowers for the wedding? It should be on the way. You rub your chin and pretend to think about it. I'll see if I can fit that into my packed schedule. I was kind of hoping to get in a couple drinks before the rehearsal. Come on, please. Fine, I'll guess I'll single-handedly save your wedding. You're welcome. Thanks, Kieran. There's a lull in the conversation as you settle into silence. The highway stretches into the horizon, distance marked only by the occasional signpost. You've been driving for almost an hour. There's still another hour left before you get to the ranch that Kira picked out for her wedding. You have to get there early to help organize. You're surprised your sister is trusting you with this responsibility, but maybe it has more to do with the fact that there's no one else to help. There's her husband and a few friends, most of them on the groom's side. You're still not sure if Mom's going to be there before the actual ceremony, but you and Kira seem to have shared understanding that you won't be holding your breaths. So, bringing a +1, Kieran? I'm only asking because I'm trying to get a head count for the seating arrangement. Well, I am bringing someone, but it's no one you know. I'm only asking because we need to make sure that all the dinner seats are accounted for. You know how particular these things can get. Even just adding one person can throw everything off. Someone hates someone else, and they get put together in the same table. Someone leaks that someone's been sleeping with someone else's husband, and then the whole thing's ruined. Relax, Kira. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, it's just... This is a big deal, you know?
Sure, planning a wedding is a lot of...
I mean, committing to someone for your whole life. Oh, yes, the wedding is costing tens of thousands of dollars too, so that's also a big deal. Do you know how much some of these venues cost? You should think about getting into real estate, Kieran, or wedding planning, or...
Outside the window, you watch the asphalt shimmer in the distance and you feel grateful for the cool air conditioning in your car. Everything okay? You're not getting cold feet, are you?
No.
Kira's voice is sharp.
I know what I want. I just...
It's going to be okay, little sister or big sister. Hey, everything's going to be okay. You made this decision knowing what you want, so have some faith in yourself. I know I trust any decision you made. The line is silent for a while, and you wonder if you've lost reception out here on the highway. Then you hear her sigh.
You sound like Dad.
You shudder. Never say that to me again. That makes Kira laugh, the sound of her voice surprisingly clear over the phone static. You can't remember the last time you made her laugh like this.
You're right, I'm sorry.
Well, hey, if you do get cold feet, let me know. I'll cause a distraction while you get away. It'll be hard to be the center of attention, obviously, but I can manage somehow. Kira snorts fondly.
You haven't changed, Kieran.
Are you sure? I'm really mature now, I swear. I had back pain the other day. I've changed, I think. You frown, catching your reflection in the rearview mirror. But I guess, at the end of the day, I'm still just... me. Huh.
Are you feeling alright, Kieran?
I'm good, really. And for once, you mean it. You spent a lot of days feeling not good, so you're something of an expert on what it would be like if you weren't okay. Whatever you're feeling now isn't that. You know what it's like to try to run from something. You think about how Remus spent so many years afraid of the resolution, so much that he'd given up anything to avoid it. A chapter of your own life is coming to a close, and rather than feeling afraid or anxious, you're content in this moment, driving somewhere you haven't yet arrived. So, I'll see you at the wedding venue then?
Yeah, drive safe, Kieran. I need you alive in case I need someone to talk me into this wedding. Or, I guess, if I need a getaway driver.
You laugh. Sure, love you too. There's a silence on the other end of the line, and for a moment, you think that's the end of the call. But then your sister's voice comes through, clipped and short, just before the call actually disconnects.
Love you too.
And then, it's just the car, the road, and you, quietly rumbling along the highway. And Wes also, in the passenger seat next to you. He's been here this entire car ride. He awkwardly clears his throat, one arm propped against the window and looking anywhere but in your direction. So, that was your sister? Yep. I hadn't talked to her in a while, not since well, you know. Wes nods. Of course he knows. He's probably one of the few people who do. I didn't talk to my family much while I was away, either. The last time we talked was my call with my brother, that night you were over. That was the last night I talked to my sister too. Apparently, other me was trying to convince her to have half chocolate, half cheese fountains at her wedding. Seriously? That's awful. Okay, I get what you're saying, but in my defense, you'll always have access to sweet and salty, depending on what the occasion calls for. Think about how versatile that would be. Imagine what that would open up for the pretzel sticks. And... Name one other food that would work for. Popcorn? That's all I got. Maybe we don't know because no one has tried this before. I'm not saying we should do this. I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I obviously thought that this was a good idea at one point. And who's gonna stand up for my bad ideas if I don't? But do you even agree with the idea? No, it's obviously incredibly embarrassing. But the problem isn't the concept. It's that I brought it up to my sister who clearly wanted to have a sophisticated wedding. So you don't have a problem with the concept? No, I think the concept has potential. Wes nods in thought, chuckling softly to himself. Sure, I guess it has potential. He leans back in his seat, the seatbelt riding up against the collar of his shirt. It's strange to have this much one-on-one time with Wes. Back in Peregrine, it felt like you were always floundering, moving too fast or spinning in place, but now you're trapped in a 3-hour car ride together, nowhere to run or hide. At the very outset, you'd feared you'd realize halfway through that you had nothing in common, and that your entire trip together would be unbearably awkward. Then you'd have to pull over on a dusty shoulder, call a cab in the middle of nowhere, then ditch your kind of friend, not really lover, as well as your only car. You shudder to imagine the cost of a rideshare out here. You hadn't had many chances to catch up since escaping Peregrine. Really, everyone had to keep their distance since returning. Too world-weary, exhausted and busy trying to piece together what had happened while they were gone. Last you heard, Luke went on to do his summer internship. He spent most of the first week floundering and giving you the play-by-play in the group chat. After a while, he seemed to be getting the hang of it, enough to scrape by at least, always spinning more plates than he was comfortable with. He's not looking forward to his senior year of college and having to take classes again, but you're both confident that he'll make it somehow, one way or another. As for Cedric, he took Peregrine's end the hardest, but to his credit, he never returned to the basement after that night. You, Wes, and Luke all admitted to making trips, even if only out of instinct. There was nothing left for you down there, anyway. It was just dust and a non-functioning emergency exit door that led nowhere. Eventually, one day, you woke up to the text that Cedric had gotten a job offer and moved out. No indication of where he was going or what was in store for him next. But you knew, somehow, that he was going to be okay. On your end, some of your memories of your other self have returned, like remembering snippets of a dream you had or a movie you watched, this impossible collage of the person you were and the person you could have been. But they're not your memories, not really, just fleeting glimpses into a life that was both yours and not yours all at once. At times, it's still hard to tell the difference between fantasy and reality. So, when you were down there, you had your own world you were trapped in, right? Wes taps his fingers along the window. What did you see? Your face colors with embarrassment. It's not just the memory of what happened, the kiss, the promises, the life you had, but that you might have wanted those things in the first place. But you've seen Wes's world, ugliness and all, and it seems only fair to be vulnerable in return. Well, we were together. I don't know if dating or a couple are the right words, but we had some kind of relationship. It was fun. You said screw my family for me, and I liked it. At least, I did while I was there. Just to be clear, you're under no obligation. I'm not saying that this is what I expect or even what I want. Again, it's not that I don't like you. I'm just saying that dreams aren't 100% accurate reflections of the things we want. Did you know I read somewhere that at least a third of people have a dream where they have sex with a relative? My point is that it doesn't really mean anything. Not really. Well, I'm not saying that this isn't exactly the same. I guess I'm saying it's complicated, right? Obviously, I don't want the entire world to mindlessly bend to my will. What I want isn't always what I want, you know? Sure, yeah. I get it. He frowns, his ears twitching like there's a buzzing fly he's trying to get rid of. I'm not sure what I want is what I want either. Wes studies a single nail, then turns his attention back to the view of this grassland outside. The land here is so flat that the horizon feels a million miles away, endlessly out of your grasp. There's no verifiable end in sight. You could be driving anywhere in the world right now, and you wouldn't know. Next to you, Wes's body softly rises and falls with his breathing. You might be anywhere, you might be going nowhere, but you wouldn't want to be anywhere but here. You pull over at a rest area for a break, even though there's no real reason to. You could have easily made the drive in a single sitting, but you're not quite ready to arrive at your destination. At least, not yet. Wes walks over to the wooden table you're sitting at, perched under the shades of a massive live oak. A thin breeze ruffles your fur and keeps you from overheating. He tosses you a water bottle from a vending machine. You snag it in a two-handed catch, and a bit of condensation hits the tip of your muzzle, causing your nose to twitch in response. Wes laughs. Cute. You flick the water on your palm back at him, and he snorts as he tries to bat the droplets away in midair. Yeah, it is cute. Despite everything, you still find yourself smiling a little too wide. Wes's cheeks look warm, and it's not just from the afternoon sun. Considering you almost slept together, you don't think that there was much more to be embarrassed about. So, what now? My phone says that there's about an hour left of the drive, but we'll probably get to the ranch sooner if we go fast. No, I mean... Wes draws circles on the wooden top of the table, obviously trying to find the right words. What now? Oh. You lean back in your seat, wrists pressed against your hips and palms on the sun-warmed wooden slates of the bench. Well, we can just hang out here for a bit. We're not in a rush. We're making pretty good time, actually. Wes grunts in assent. Yeah. I'm not very good at waiting around, but sometimes it feels like that's all I do. You remember the life the other Wes was leading. Parties, drugs, sex. You can only vouch really for one of those things, but you assume the other two are implicit, and wonder just how slow his life could be now that he's back from Peregrine. But in another sense, you know exactly what he means. There's swimming, and then there's treading water. Did you ever feel like you're getting all the steps wrong? Like you were supposed to screw A into B before you did C, but somewhere along the way, it all got mixed up? Wes thinks about this. He shrugs. No, not really. Most of the time, I don't think I know what I'm building. It's like I'm just moving the pieces around, randomly screwing things to other things that I don't even know the letters of. Then I take them apart and do it again. I keep waiting for someone to find me and say, "Hey, I know you don't actually know what you're doing. You shouldn't be messing around with these things. Get out of here." But no one ever does. You wonder how much of this comes with the territory. Who has the guts to call out a guy like Wes? He has everything. Money, a statuesque build, the kind of blasé stoicism that makes him seem cooler and more above it all than he is. Notably all things you don't have, and losing him feels like you risk losing your chance to have those things too. The two of you look out over the fields of dry grass that flank the sides of the road. The sky is clear without a cloud in sight. In one hand, Wes twirls a fallen twig between his fingers. You notice for the first time since you've known him that he's not wearing a ring. So, I called my dad recently. I told him I didn't want to get married. A truck roars past like a bullet. What? Seriously? What did he say? Well, he asked if I was serious about the company, if I even cared about taking over and doing what my brothers won't. And? I told him the truth. I don't know. I don't know what I want because I never had the chance to find out. All my life I've been doing what my dad wanted me to do because I thought that would make me happy. I thought all I wanted was to hear him say that he was proud of me, that I'd done the right thing by taking on the responsibilities no one else would. Obviously, I wasn't following his instructions perfectly. You chuckle at that. I thought I could do it if I just put the blinders on and focused on the track in front of me, but that just made me short-sighted. When you're blocking out things around you, well, you don't always get to choose what you're not seeing. And I don't think I was seeing other people very well. Or myself. You nod in thought. A stray leaf spirals from the sky and onto the wooden boards of the table between you. The wood is worn smooth under the pads of your hands. It's soft, scored in places where it's met the edge of a knife or a claw. So, what are you gonna do now? Wes shrugs. I still don't know, but I want to figure it out on my terms. As much as they can be my own, anyway. The scabs on his knuckles are starting to heal, the skin pink and smooth under the fur that's growing back. Wes flashes you a smile when he catches you looking. You know, there's something different about you, Kieran. What, like in general or since we met? If it's the formal, I have several former teachers you'd get along with. I don't know what it is. It might be the mutual near-death experience we both had that we can't talk to anyone else about. Wes chuckles. Sure, maybe it's that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. He smiles, twiddling his thumbs. You reach over and give his hand a squeeze, running your thumb over his knuckles, and enjoying the way his face warms at the touch. Finally, Wes jerks his head towards the parking lot. Time to go? You and Wes walk back to the car, your pelts barking under the summer sun. The asphalt shimmers in the distance like a mirage, an oasis on the horizon that never seems to get closer. But maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe there was never anything to chase anyway. Maybe it was here all along. As you go to open the seat to the driver's side, Wes stops you. Hang on. You watch his throat bob as he swallows, the rise and fall of his chest next to you. Before we go, can I kiss you? A laugh bubbles up from your chest, warm and sparkling. You know you don't have to ask. Wes smiles. When he speaks, his voice rumbles with relief. I want to. Wes leans in, and for the fourth time, he kisses you. He's already a familiar lover and still a new one at this point. You feel the press of his muzzle against your lips, his hands sliding down your back and into the pockets of your shorts. You cant your hips into his, and the two of you languidly grind against each other as the blood starts flowing between your legs. Wes sighs into your mouth as he pins your pelvis against the hot, dusty door of your car. Your fur protects you from the direct contact with the metal, but you feel heat radiate from the two surfaces you're trapped against. It's neither entirely romantic nor sexy. It's just nice. It's just nice to be pressed against him, feeling his body move against yours, uncertain where this moment is going without feeling insecure as to where the two of you are going. You're discovering here the flip side of uncertainty. It's excitement, adventure, and thrill. It's hope, and it's the unavoidable present and the unknowable future. It's on the road ahead of you, the baggage you carry with you, and it's between your two bodies right now, Wes's nose against your own. As you break apart, Wes licks his lips. He rests his paws on the sides of your hips, his thumb whirring little circles against flesh and bone. Sweat beads on your brow. You don't know if it's from him or the afternoon heat getting to you. You think Carol will be mad if we're just a little bit late? Wes laughs. The air seems to vibrate with life as he does. I don't know. Wanna find out? Oh. So yeah, that was the end of In Case of Emergency. When I originally read this, when it came out, like, what was it, Wednesday or Monday? When it gets to this part where you see them kiss, it's like, oh yes! I was so happy. So yeah, I hope you guys are happy with the ending too. It is a happy, uncertain, but still good ending, because you never know, maybe they don't end up together in the end. But I would like to think that they do end up together. I'm gonna be optimistic for once and say that they will end up together, and while they may not have a perfect life or a perfect existence, that it will be good for them. Like, they will be happy. Oh, I'm so sad to see the story end. In case of emergency. The end. Aww. It doesn't end if I don't press any button to return to the main menu, does it? Anyways, but yeah. So, yeah. I guess this is where we talk about the story. I mean, okay, so it was obvious that Wes's world would revolve around him being basically glued to his family, or his obligations, or the obligations that he saw that were his. Because in reality, it wasn't up to him to have to keep the company going, to get married and do all these things that his dad was, putting on him, because this is what other people want for him. And I think that's why in his dream world, he wasn't happy. He had all the things that he thought he needed or wanted in life, but he wasn't happy, because these are not the things that he himself wanted. These are the things that his dad wanted for him, or at least that his dad was imposing on him. And I guess in the end, that's what helped him realize, like, hey, this world is fake, because I'm obviously not happy. And this dog here that I kind of sort of like is, telling me the truth. This world is fake and I can't stay here. So, yeah. And I guess that's the reason why I like this story, and why I liked Kieran and Wes specifically. I will admit, I did not do Luke or Cedric's routes, because I personally thought that they were going to end up pretty much the same. They might have a little difference here and there, because you're dealing with two different characters with two different problems that are different probably from Wes's. But yeah, they also have different ending scenes and whatever. And whoever wins the art book thing will also get a file that has the high-res versions of the characters and the high-res versions of the ending screens. But yeah. There is actually an option to stay with Remus if you get close to him and not anyone else. Fuck that. I know we all want to live in a fantasy. We would all like that our world would be what we wished it was, but this is life, and that isn't always the case. And it's like that Beatles song that says life is what happens when you're busy making plans. So it's not gonna be pretty at times. It's not gonna be what you specifically wanted, and it might end up very, very shitty for some people. And you might lose some people in the along the road of life. But you have to keep moving, because this is your life. Ultimately, you get to decide how it ends and how it progresses. You can't let certain things stop you and or try to live in a fantasy world because you don't like the way life is in reality. I mean, I know that's rich coming from a furry. But yeah. Anyways, okay, so back to Wes and Kieran. The reason I like them so much is because of their family related things. And this is where you might cringe, because you might hear me cry, because I'm already on the brink. I'm trying not to cry while I'm talking about this, because I've been thinking about this for the past week, basically, since I had to record this. And every single time I think about it, it's like, no, stop crying. But yeah, the reason I like them is because it reminds me a lot of stuff, personal stuff. Like how, I'm gonna start with Kieran first, with how Kieran was at the beginning, where he's at his father's funeral, and with my own dad, even though he's alive and he does try to connect, I personally feel that there's no connection, and I think that's kind of my fault. My parents also divorced, but it was for good reason. They did not have a good marriage. My dad wasn't a good person back then. Even after the divorce, when I would go to visit, he did have issues. But he did try. But I think at that time, I'm sorry. But I think at that time, he did try. But I didn't want to let him, because I knew what he did. I knew the type of work, the person he was in the past. And that was not... That was not easy to forget. So now, when things have changed, it's... I don't know why, but it's still not easy. Like I would like to try to at least be able to call on his birthday or even Father's Day and, say happy birthday or happy Father's Day. It's just hard. Because truth be told, my mom was my dad. But I think it's only because I never allowed my dad to be my dad. Because I just couldn't look past what had happened. And I don't want to, in the day when he's no longer here, to be sitting or standing in front of people trying to talk to them about my dad and not be able to say anything and just have remorse or anger to say. And I'm not the most expressive person when it comes to emotions. Even Omar, who I've gotten the closest out of all my friends with, he'll attest to the fact that sometimes it does feel like I'm holding things back, because I am. And I am very sorry for that. And I hope that changes in the future. But yeah, I'm sorry for the cringy moment we're having right now. And talking about Wes, I also feel a connection with him and with Murdoch of the smoke room, because they both have these family expectations where you're both simultaneously expected to be something or to act a certain way, but at the same time seems to be very little recognition of when it happens, where you're like put in the middle, where it's like, oh, you have to do this because this person won't do it, or because they're not, rising to the occasion, so to speak. But it's like, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to be put in the middle of this argument that you guys are having, or this and that? And why do I have to do this because this person isn't doing that? And I just I wanna be able to make my own choices. And sometimes even when you make them, it's like, no, why are you doing that? You're supposed to be doing this. I don't want you doing that. This is a waste of time. And I felt a lot of what Wes was going through and a lot of what Kieran had felt too. So that's why I like this story, because I felt it in a very personal way. But yeah, so now that you've seen the ending of In Case of Emergency, and although I already told you in the previous episode for giveaway's sake to write down when your favorite part was, what is your favorite part now seeing the ending? Are you happy with the ending? Are you happy with Kieran and Wes being together even though they may have an uncertain future? Because it does look like that Wes wants to explore his future with Kieran, at least at his side for now, and that Kieran is happy to be at Wes's side. And I would hope that they do stay together, or at the very least that they are close. But yeah. So anyways, I guess for the raffle at the end of the day I will pick a winner. So hopefully you guys followed the instructions and made it so that I was able to contact you in case you won. But yeah, so after this, I guess maybe I will go through and on my own play Luke and Cedric's routes and see if there's any difference between them. Like if other information pops up, but if it ends up being much of the same up until the end, I probably won't, because I don't want to reread everything just to have the ending for Luke or for Cedric. Yeah. Because if I recall correctly, it's literally just much of the same up until a certain point where you're having more interactions with a specific character than you are with another one. I may just read it for my own, but yeah. But anyways, thank you all for watching / cringing. In case... thank you all for watching / listening to In Case of Emergency. If you would like to play it yourself or donate to the creator, you can find a direct link to his itch page where you can do either one. And if you want to donate and get the art book yourself, all you have to do is just donate $5 and you get access to the art book. And yeah, and he will very much, well, they will very much appreciate it, because I don't know if it's a he or she or what. So yeah, I don't want to assume. But yeah, this is very much appreciated. I am sorry to make you all cringe. But I guess this is it, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.